you these photos, Pastor?
Oh my goodness.
It looked like a cross.
That does.
And this, I wanted you angels coming down.
Yeah.
And then I came across this Bible verse. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was awesome. It happened last Sunday, about 3:15. I was with Cora at her playground, and I was
Wow.
it was awesome.
That's cool.
It was. Just wanted to share.
That's God's nature is
Turn my phone off in
incredible.
case somebody beeps me.
Woo! Energy source.
We got Coke today.
Yeah, that's what was on sale at the time. One of the two always on sale. One of this. Oh yeah. So we are still in Matthew, but let's do some hymns. I was going to do Fanny Crosby today, but I don't have it on this with me.
Like her. I'll be in the back of him.
Yeah, it is. Right here. Anybody know anything about Fanny Crosby?
I just know she's good.
She was blind, yeah.
She was what?
Blind.
Blind.
And she was a prolific writer, even though she was not able to see some of the things she was writing about.
No, we don't do responsive reading very well.
No, we haven't done one in a long time. I like the poetry, so.
Yeah.
Let's do To God Be the Glory, number 4, and 62. All the way, my Savior released me. Okay, let's do 4 and 62 back to back, first and last verses. To God be the glory, great things He hath done. So loved He the world that He gave us His Son, who healed His life and was torn for sin. She wrote the words to her hymns. She did not write the music for her hymns. When I came along afterward, you know, the music, which I think has to be a challenging thing. But I'm hearing these words in my head. I'm hearing a rhythm. I'm hearing, so to have someone else say, "Hear the words," you know.
So did they write the music first, do you think?
I'm assuming that the words are written first,
The words
and then
come first?
the music around. I guess it can go either way. All right, so prayer requests and praises. One of the things that we heard on Sunday, and I have not heard an update on yet. Amy, what's Amy's last name? Okay, well that's Ron's Amy. Yeah, Ron's Amy. Yeah, I was thinking the Edward job. We'll do Ron's Amy too. Amy Edwards, she was back in the hospital on Sunday. Her stomach stuff was not doing well.
Who is this?
Excuse me?
Who?
Sandra's daughter, Amy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sandra Edwards' daughter, Amy.
Okay.
I don't know if she's Amy Edwards or not. She's Sandra's daughter, Amy. Back in the hospital, was not doing well Sunday. I have not got an update. I need to call Sandra and give an update.
She was here Sunday. Sandra.
No. So please remember Amy. Amy's gone through a lot, and their relationship has been difficult. Excuse me?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yeah, that's right. Amy Nichols is her name. Amy Washburn, which is Ron's daughter, she's still facing some struggles. The amputation of her foot was, a month ago now? And she's still having some struggles, but so far they're keeping on top of it all. Earl is going to have surgery on the 14th of this month. There is a tumor. It is not attached to his pancreas, which is good. But it is close to some key blood vessels, and so they said that the surgery is going to be tricky. They are not assuming cancerous, so that is good. But they will not know for sure until they take it out and test it. But they talked to the surgeon yesterday, and the surgeon said that it does not present itself as being cancerous. Again, you don't know until you get there and testing. So he's been struggling for a long time. Since he's been here, he's had health problems. But this is especially damaging. Please remember Earl as he is getting ready to have surgery on the 14th. Other prayer requests or praises? What do you have, Dick? What prayer requests do you have?
Prayer request. I hate to be jealous, but put me on it.
Okay.
I just got back from town. Just next month.
Okay. Remember
There was
Dick.
one this morning.
Remember Dick, he's having a rough time right now.
Doctor says 46 weeks into.
Yeah. Other prayer requests or praises? I don't like being self-serving, but I will tell you something positive about my son. He starts that teaching job at Henrico County Theater Department next week. It's a part-time position, but he will be teaching at the Arts Academy at Henrico High School, and he'll be one of their 2 theater teachers, and he is very excited. Very excited. He's taught classes for children with character works, and He's worked with children a lot. This is the first time we'll be working with high school students. And these are students who have to apply to go to the academy. They're not just random kids. So supposedly they have a little bit of, some desire to do this. So he saw his office yesterday, and he has 10 students this semester. And he signed up for the rest of the school year, and he starts on next week. So he's excited and he's terrified at the same time.
Footnote about that school. The lady that was named for was a member of East California.
Really? That's cool.
The what?
School.
Virginia Good.
No, I mean, what?
The
The art?
The art school.
Art.
What is that?
Virginia Goot. So he's really, really excited. He also has callbacks for It's a Wonderful Life, which is coming in Virginia Rec. We'll be doing a callback for them. He auditioned and they wanted to go further with the process. And there's another play coming up in Richmond in January that he got a callback for. So his acting career is moving, and he's now going to be teaching in this field. So he's excited. And so many of the people he graduated with are sitting at home doing absolutely nothing. The other drawing guys, it's just a hard place to draw right now. And he's finding success.
The lady's name, her married name was Lee Ainge.
The ancient.
She was a good, all of Virginia Good University.
Well, her name was Virginia Lee Good.
Lee Gooden.
I think her name was Virginia Good.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other prayer requests or praises? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be here today to worship you, to lift up our praises to you, to show you our concerns. Lord, help us to see you at work. Lord, we thank you for your nature and the pictures that you showed us today, and the idea of what you're at work. Father, that we can see you in differing ways, Father, how that can positively impact us, to remind us, Lord, that you're there. Father, I worked with the preschool this week about creation and how you started all things. Father, may we never lose that the excitement of knowing that you have created it all. Father, it's all because of you. Lord, we come today to lift up to you prayer requests. Father, for those who are ill and those who are going through times of struggle. Father, we lift up to you Earl and two babies that we talked about today. Father, all the other ones that are going through difficult times and Lord, need a special touch from you. Father, we also give you our praises for the things you continue to do in our lives. Father, we're thankful that you provide in so many different ways. May we never fail to say thank you for what you are doing. Now, Lord, as we come to study your word, may you open our hearts and minds and help us, Lord, to see you there. I ask this in Jesus' name. All right. We are in Matthew. And Jennifer said, where are you in Matthew? I said, we're in the woes. That's where the woes are. That's where we are. We're in the woes of Matthew. Matthew chapter 23. And we left off after verse 14 last week, right? The one that was disputed in brackets. So, all these scriptures have brackets around them. We're not in the earliest editions that we are now aware of. So, see brackets, you know, that's a verse that is questionable in origin. All right, verse 15. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel about on sea and land, and make one proselyte, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Whoa. So you go and evangelize, you win someone, and you turn them into someone who by the temple, that is nothing. But whoever swears by the gold of the temple, he is obligated. You fools and blind men, which is more important, the gold or the temple that sanctified the gold? Okay? He's already told us not to swear by anything, but some people were swearing by the temple. Some of the people saw it being holy and worthy of swearing something by. But then others were saying, I'm not swearing by the temple, but I'm swearing by the gold of the temple. Thinking that the gold would be of more value than the temple. Okay? That the gold is worth more than the temple itself. But that is foolishness, he says. The temple is more important because the temple is what sanctifies the gold. Verse 18. And whoever swears by the altar, that is nothing, but whoever swears by the offering upon it, he is obligated. You blind men, which is more important, the offering or the altar that sanctifies the offering? And some people would say, I swear by the altar. And some say, I got one better, and I will swear by the offering on the altar. And that would be something better. And he said, you're just foolish. The money on the altar is not more important than the altar, because the altar is what sanctifies all of it. Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by both the altar and everything on it. And he who swears by the temple swears by both the temple and by him who dwells within it. And he who swears by heaven swears both by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. So they were trying to one up each other on what they were swearing things by. And he was, you guys have your value mixed up. The gold is not more important than the temple. The offering is not more important than the altar. You guys are seeing things incorrectly. And what you were trying to one up people with, you were actually missing the point all together. Verse 23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, but have neglected the weightier provisions of the law. Okay, I love this verse actually. This is when it's hard to imagine this, but some Pharisees were so Pharisaical. Were so believed in their giving that they would take a tenth of their mint, their dill, and their cumin that they raised in the gardens and tithe that. I am so holy. I not only give a tenth of what I possess monetarily, I also give a tenth of all these herbs that I grow. Isn't that great? And he looks at us, oh my gosh, you are so stupid. You neglected the weightier provisions of the law, which are justice and mercy and faithfulness. He doesn't care how much cumin and dill that you offer on the altar. He says what you need to be giving is justice, mercy, and faithfulness. These are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. So you should be giving mercy, justice, and faithfulness. And he's not worried about your mint, dill, and cumin. But they were patting themselves on the back for, hey, I can give of my spices. Verse 24. You blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Straining out a gnat and swallow a camel. So they are so specific that they want to get the smallest things out. They're willing to take in huge amounts of wrongness. So, bring it from that, swallow again. Verse 25. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and of the dish, so that the outside of it may become clean also. we like to go to a restaurant and they give you a bowl where the outside is just nice, but on the inside it's crud, you know. Hey, what can you say? We cleaned the outside. No, I don't care about the outside as much as what's the inside. The inside has got to be cleaned first. And so they were cleaning the outside, but what was on the inside was nasty. Verse 27, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. Even so, you two outwardly appear righteous to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Okay. Graveyards can be very ugly places. But, you know, from this time to now, one of the things that people do to, you know, help them dealing with grief is to sometimes take care of the grave site of their loved one. And somehow they can, that's one way they can keep in contact with their loved ones to take care of the grave site. And so he's saying, you know, you're out there whitewashing tombs, making sure everything's good on the outside, but you know that on the inside, it's bones. So you cannot put all your emphasis on cleaning that tomb, that stone, somehow thinking you're affecting what's on the inside, because you know the person is still not there. The person is still no longer with us. But you try to appear outwardly righteous, but inwardly you are lawless and full of hypocrisy. So you can make a tomb look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, it's still what it is. Look at Monty's, Judy's mom. The funeral was held in a mausoleum. Now, most mausoleums are kind of open and wind comes through and it's enclosed, but it's not completely closed off. This one is actually much more closed off. But inside the mausoleum, you have all this granite and everything is unified and it's the perfect letters, and but still, that's a place of death. And so to go in there and think anything less would be deceiving yourself. So just because you can make something good on the outside does not mean that what's on the inside is right. And they appeared righteous, but inside they were not. Verse 29.
That's a question.
Yeah.
I did this for some time after my mother died. I was going to the grave, sitting there and talking. My wife could always tell when I had been about that.
Yeah.
I got on, but,
Yeah.
I mean, that's different. I always have to be a member.
Oh yeah. And I don't think it's bad to keep up the gravestone. I mean, but continuing to keep up the gravestone, thinking that it's affecting, what's inside. That's silliness. But yeah, going to the gravesite and continuing to have communication, building that closeness. That's a normal thing. I think that's normally very, very healthy. If you start living there, which I've seen that. That's not healthy. All right, verse 29. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the monuments of the righteous. And you say, if we had been living in these days of our fathers, we would have been partners with them in the shedding of blood of the prophets. Well, okay, so you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn them with monuments of righteousness. And you say, if we had been there, we would not have been partners with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. If we had been there, we would have realized that they were telling the truth, that we wouldn't have killed off the prophets. We would have been smarter than our fathers. Verse 31, consequently you bear witness against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. vipers, how shall you escape the sentence of hell? So they can say, oh, we would have treated the prophets better. They were going to kill Jesus. One of the leaders cut off the head of John the Baptist. So they could have said that they would have been different, but they're the sons of those people, and that's what they did. So probably would not have been different. How do you think that you're going to escape the sentence of hell? I'm sure that would have been extremely offensive to them because they thought they were trying to lift people up to their level to be above them. Jesus is saying what they're doing is leaving them there. Verse 34. Therefore, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, that upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things shall come upon this generation. So God has sent the prophets. God has sent the people to give them messages, and they crucified them and scourged them and threw them out. And he says that he is putting the guilt of all of the righteous blood shed upon these people, all the way from Abel to Zechariah. So he was looking at the leaders of the church. He was saying, you're wrong, and you're going to face all kinds of judgment because of that you're wrong. Very, very difficult message for them to hear, I'm sure. So that's all the woes from Matthew. Then we get to the lament over Jerusalem. The lament over Jerusalem in Matthew is immediately here. There's no talk about it being a separate event. There's no talk about Jesus being in a different place. If you look in Luke, Jesus has two different kind of laments. And Luke, one is in a public place around other people, and one is he's actually looking out over the city, and he's having his lament. So we don't know exactly what has happened, but once in Luke it says that he was actually looking out over the city. Verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stone those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers the chicks under her wings, and you are unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate. For I say to you, from now on, you shall not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So, the idea of Jesus saying this, on looking out of the mountain before he comes in for his triumphal entry, which Luke does, it makes a little more sense. But in this situation, it's just kind of stuck at the end of this woes. I don't think he ended the woes thing and then does a lament over Jerusalem. That doesn't make sense. So Matthew put it here. But as we said before in some of the other studies, this is not, the Gospels were not written in a journaling style. They weren't written in a textbook style. All four of the Gospel writers had different ways that they did this. But Matthew here kind of seeks this lament over Jerusalem right after the woes to the Pharisees. But I can see him, looking out over Jerusalem and saying, how I've tried my best to draw you together. resisted, and now your house is being left desolate.
He's so sad. I don't think he'd be so sad about
Yeah, I can see him crying. I can see him, it takes me back to this little baby, the Indian looking out over the land that has all the trash and one tear. I can see Jesus, yeah, I can see Jesus looking out from Jerusalem and crying, saying, gosh, I've tried so hard. I have given everything, and you have to pay attention, and you are being left desolate. All right, verse chapter 24. People like talking about this as signs of Jesus' return, but I call it generic, because he doesn't give specifics. We'll get into that. Chapter 1, verse 1. And Jesus came out from the temple, and he was going away when his disciples came up on the temple buildings to him. And he answered and said to them, do you not see all these things? Truly, I say to you, not one stone here shall be left upon another, which will not be torn down. Okay, so what is Jesus predicting here? Looking at the temple. What the college reason? The temple was destroyed. Of course, he was. Excuse me?
They were overtaken.
They were overtaken, yeah. While everyone was still celebrating, the temple, Jesus is saying it's not going to last. Something again that they would have a hard time embracing, I'm sure. Verse 3. And as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us when these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming, and of the end of the age. So, when is all this going to happen? Tell us about it. And you'll hear preachers preach this, and as if they were giving specifics of his return. But I think Jesus intentionally made it wide open, because I believe that he can come anytime. Jesus answered and said to them, see to it that no one misleads you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and will mislead many. So, first off, he's saying there will be false Christs. So don't be distracted by those people who are coming and trying to proclaim to be me. In verse 6. And you will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. The wars and rumors of wars. How long in history have there been wars and rumors of wars?
Always.
It's never stopped, has it? There's always been wars and rumors of wars. For a nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. Climate change is. But nation will be against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines. There will be earthquakes. When those things happen, was there one particular period? It's always happened. It's always happened. Verse 8. But all these things are merely the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you. And you will be hated by all nations on account of my name. So, how often in history have there been Christian martyrs? Since the day that Jesus left. Stephen was the first Christian martyr. So from Stephen up until now, there have been martyrs. At that time, many will fall away and live with one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will rise and mislead many. Because lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end, he shall be saved. gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world for a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. Okay, so tribulation, difficult times will come. You will be hated because of my name. That's always happened since he left. People fall away, hate one another, false prophets rising up again. Always has happened. Lawlessness. Every generation has their own kind of lawlessness and places of lawlessness. People's love will grow cold. But then the two verses I think that are essential here. Verse 13, those who endure to the end will be saved. So, when we all have the difficult things to deal with, if you do endure to the end, you will be saved. And then that last part of the gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to the whole world. Then it shall come to the end. So, if you go to West Broadway, the International Mission Board in Richmond, I think it's off West Broadway. Everything else is off West Broadway. Is it off Monument? Okay.
On Monument Hamlet.
Monument, yeah, that's right. So if you go to the International Mission Board, at least they used to have this, there's a map of the world on one of the walls, and there are pins they have put in, and the color pins determine whether this has been a people group they have reached, or are attempting to reach, or people groups, the different colors, people groups that they're still trying to reach. Because they take seriously this idea that the whole world has to hear the gospel for him to come. So you can go to the International Mission Board office and you can see the places where we have the Baptists, not Christianity in general, but the Baptists have taken the gospel to these different places, and the places that we're still trying to take the gospel to. Now, while that is a cool graphic, I don't think that we can determine, I don't think there's going to be a day where the International Mission Board takes one pin and takes the blue off, meaning they haven't been reached, puts the red on, meaning they have been reached, and say, ta-da! The whole world has now been reached with the gospel. But the fact that they're trying, the fact that that is a goal of theirs, is to get the gospel to every facet, every area of the world is admirable. But you can go and see all the places that that Baptist group, Southern Baptists, have all the places they've reached, and all the places they're still trying to reach, so that they can say that they have taken the gospel to all nations and all people.
Look at the people. Some people in China can't reach it.
Yeah. I mean, this scripture, I think sometimes we read the scriptures and we take it in a literal sense. And I don't think that we necessarily, what do you say about this? Okay. Not a lot.
Let me look at it. I have not read it yet.
But I think we may take some things literal, and he's not. Because who knows, and who knows how God is reaching these peoples, without having a missionary show up. God can do things that we can't do. So. Any highlights from me?
I'll pick it up at the very, very end. This verse doesn't, he says, does not mean that while the church is here in the world, the end cannot come until the gospel of the grace of God is preached worldwide. I know there are those who use this verse to promote their Bible teaching programs. While that's laudable to want to get the gospel to the ends of the earth, this is not the verse to use to promote it. You see, it's important to interpret Scripture in its context. Remember, our Lord is answering a question. What is the sign of the end of the age? He is speaking of that in time.
Okay. So he said it's not, that's not a literal thing of, he's not saying that. And I don't think that's necessarily what, that, there's going to be a missionary group that hits every group. I think there's other ways for people to understand the gospel, and share the gospel, that are beyond our human ways. So we can't use that as a, it's surely going to happen now because we've done this. It surely won't happen now because we haven't done that. I don't think that's the way God works. He will send that to Jesus in his time. All right, verse 15. Therefore, when you see the admonition and desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel and the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who's on the housetop not go down to get the things out there in the house. Let him who's in the field not turn back to get his cloak. But woe to those who are with child and those who nurse babes in those days. But pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on a Sabbath, and then there will be a great tribulation, such as not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor never shall. Okay, so he's turning the page, talking about the end days. The things that were spoken, he says, were spoken to us through Daniel, the prophet. What kind of book is Daniel? There's lots of prophetic writing. It is not purely prophetic, but much of the writings in Daniel are prophecy. And in those prophecies are included some of the end world, or the last times predictions. So Jesus says, we have told you about this in Daniel. If you want to read about the end time stuff, go read Daniel. So it's going to be bad. Those who are in Judea, flee to the mountains. One's on a rooftop, don't go down and get things out of his house. Let him who's in the field not turn back to get his cloak. It's bad, so you got to get away. And woe to those who are with child and those who nurse babes in those days. New parents and those who are getting ready to have children, it's going to be a really difficult time. And hope that doesn't happen in the winter or on a Sabbath. Because the Sabbath is, we couldn't do, at least in his time, we couldn't do anything on Sabbath. For there will be great tribulation that has not occurred until, from the year until now. And then I'll go ahead and finish through 28. And unless those days have been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days shall be cut short. Okay. This is one of those verses that people point to about the timing of the end days. Let's read it now. And unless those days had been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days shall be cut short. Okay. There's three schools of thought with the tribulation. Pre-trib, meaning the church will be taken out before the tribulation. Mid-trib, I've got to say partial trib because we don't know exactly mid-trib, but partial tribulation. The church will be in tribulation for a season, but will then be taken out. And post-tribulation, that the elect, the righteous, will have to endure the entire tribulation period. I am pre-trib. Not because I have any verses I can go to and say, oh, there we go, but because I'm an optimist. And I would, if I'm alive at that time, I don't want to have to go through it. So I'm an optimist. But and they have a different, viewpoints, all of them can make sense and say, no, we're gonna be gone before it starts, or we're gonna have to have a little bit, or oh, we're gonna, the church have to go through all of it. And this is one of those scriptures that, I guess mid-tribbers would say, the time will be cut short for the righteous. So it's not something that we endure to the end, but that we will be a partial. So I think people who are mid-tribbers would look at 22 and say, that's where that's one of my mid-trib scriptures. Verse 23. But if anyone says to you, behold, here is Christ, or there he is, do not believe him. For false Christs and false prophets will arise, and will show great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the elect. So there will be those who come who are trying to mislead people, and even those who think that they understand those elect, they will be affected by it. Verse 25. But the whole I have told you in advance. If therefore you say, if they say to you, behold, he is in the wilderness, do not go forth. Or behold, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe him. For just as the lightning comes from the east, and flashes even to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Okay. Yeah. False teachers come, and people who are believers are going to be influenced. Even the elect, even those people who understand, are going to be affected. So pay attention. I've told you this in advance. And if people come and tell you, he's here or he's there, don't listen. But it's going to be a difficult time for mankind in general. And it's going to be something that those who are here is going to have to endure, and it will be a very horrible time in the history of the world. And in verse 28, where the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. That's ominous. That's ominous. It's very heavy. So Jesus talks about these end times, and I think one of the key things about talking about end times is that he points to Daniel. If you want to hear what God has decided to reveal, go to Daniel.
All of this is in Revelation. Here of it.
Right.
Much of it.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I guess he's referring to the false witnesses, the false Christ, as the vultures. They're swooping down, looking for people to devour him, people who don't have a firm grip on the faith. So, difficult thing that Jesus is being really front and off with his believers here, his people. All right, so we get to the glory of return. And we'll finish up 24 and get to 25 next time. We are blazing on to Easter.
Rusty,
Yes.
chapter 24, verse 5 says, "Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." Has that happened yet?
Oh, I think it's been happening ever since Jesus left.
Did they actually say they are?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And right now, I shouldn't tell you this, but I love studying cults. There's a cult in Australia right now where the guy says, I am Jesus Christ. He has a wife, he says, is Mary Magdalene, and they have a following. People that But it's happened ever since Jesus left, up until this point, people will actually stand up and say, I am Jesus Christ. And people, wow, this doesn't make sense to me.
Like the Colts here, David Koresh,
Yeah, David Koresh, yeah,
and Jim Jones.
yeah. They all put on a problem. Either I am Jesus or I'm a prophet from God. I have been told to come and alter your path. But there's one in Australia right now that will tell you he is Jesus Christ and he's married to Mary Magdalene. And they are here to lead the new church.
We can talk about the three parts of the tribulation. That's from the outline, but I've never heard that before. Doesn't Revelation say we'll be gone before the
Again, if you sit down with somebody who's studied all this, people who are pre-trib can say, give you scriptures, oh yeah. People who are mid-trib can give you something. That's a good point. And people who are post-tribulation will give you scriptures that you're right. So you can follow any of the three. You can justify any of the three because of different ways of looking at it. Yeah.
So, the people that are on the mountain that flee, are they the Jewish people?
That's what I imagine.
Are
Yeah.
there 166,000?
Yeah. I don't know that, but I think because he's talking about the people who came to originally are going to be drawn, their eyes are going to be open.
And are they Jews or Jews and Gentiles?
I think that is talking about Jews.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
What verse are you on?
When does flee the hills and don't go back and get your cloak? Or
Flee into the mountains?
Verse 15. 16.
Gotcha.
because I think that's kind of like a dawning of the eyes of the people who should have been hearing this all along and didn't, and all of a sudden, and then when this tribulation time comes.
That's my personal belief, that they'll be saved, they will see the light.
Yeah, all of a sudden the light will come on.
Right.
Wow. All the time we have that in the sign. Okay, let's have a closing hymn. We said 290. I am thine, O Lord. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. I want to know where you're going with your clouds. I think that is so funny.
Who says that? Rowdy senior.
Makes us sound like we're a little white. We're still alive. I mean, we do have